Okay, we'll call the special meeting to order. We'll begin with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Spencer's on at the county commissioners board meeting or at the board meeting room, I should say, and that is an open meeting, and they were going to be recording this, so if anybody does come in from the public, that they will be involved in that. She wanted just to let everyone know.
Right, there won't be any public comments or questions from the public, but they are able to be here because our full board will be here, so. And if I have the camera on, you'll see our Park and Lake Superintendent, Isaac Head, and then one of our commissioners is in the frame there. That's Commissioner Randy Delkey. The rest of them are off camera.
Why don't we start with introductions, and then I don't know who wants to lead off, Isaac or Brian, or but let's start with introductions and then see who wants to take the lead. Those of you online.
Can you hear?
I can go ahead and start for
Great.
Sustainable Environmental Consultants. So my name is Brian Sedgman. I'm Director of Ag Engineering for Sustainable Environmental Consultants. FCC did the original dam inspection for this project, and then followed up with doing a repair for the back slope, and then also assisted A1 Pump and Jet out of Emporia to do the pipe inspection of the tower and the drawdown pipe that's now kind of being used as a principal spillway. We have reports for that, and we've submitted all the documentation to the DWR. I've been working with Zach Rust on that for approval. So, Curtis?
I'm Curtis Jansen with SEC as well, and just been engineer with SEC, helping Brian on the project and working through it. So.
And for DWR, got Terry Medley. I'm the Water Structures Program Manager.
I'm Ambrose Ketter. I'm the dam safety team leader.
And I'm Zach Rust, and I'm dam engineer working on the Marion County project, so reviewing it.
Very good, thank you. Why don't we start with
We still have some more.
Oh, we have more, sorry.
Yeah, I'm Leonard Bristow. I'm in the field office with the Division of Water Resources. I'm out in Stockton, Kansas.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Lee Wolf with the Corps of Engineers out of Kannapolis field site. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Am I missing anybody? If not,
Are you going to introduce Seymour?
oh, okay. I'll introduce those of us that are here in the room. Of course, Isaac Head with the Marion County Park and Lake. We also have Sharon Olmstead with Planning and Zoning, Commissioner Randy Dalkey, Commissioner Kent Becker, Commissioner Jonah Gehring, and myself, Commissioner David Mueller. Commissioner Crowfoot will be joining us in about half an hour. So Isaac, I don't know if you want to kick it off or if you want Brian.
It's
There's Brian.
Yeah, I can get started, I guess. I mean, from where we are at this point, so in my introduction talked about the reports that have been submitted. We also submitted an application for a permit to complete the improvements on the downstream slope. And when that was being reviewed by DWR, the request was made to take a look or a further inspection of the drawdown pipe and tower. A1 Pump and Jet out of Emporia was hired to come and do that. The county assisted in pumping out the back behind the dam, the stealing basin area, so that we could run a camera of that pipe. And so a camera was run from the outlet into that pipe all the way up to the tower. General findings, the pipe itself, although being submerged for decades because of the way the elevations turn out, the pipe was in fair to good condition. There was the drawdown valve does have a leak, which was showing some spraying out of one side, and there is some damage to the tower that's allowing some water to leak in as well. Isaac and I kind of went over that, and we discussed reasonings behind that and found in the report. The other problem is that the actual outlet is submerged into the Stilling Basin. So the elevation of the channel, outlet channel downstream is 4.5 feet or so higher than the actual outlet, so that water, the pipe is not set above the Stilling Basin elevation. And so those findings were reported back to the DWR for their consideration. And then from there, we had received word that Zach and Ambrose wanted to go down and do some surveying, which I think they had completed, or I know they have completed. And that led to this meeting, to where we're trying to figure out what the next steps are for this structure, and also what can be done to get permitting started and the project started for the erosion control on the back slope. Does that cover everything, Zach?
Yeah, I think so, and I'm pretty sure we anticipate getting that permit out in the next day or two for those repairs on the back slope. Of course, with the whatever's discussed here in this meeting regarding the submerged outlet downstream, that's our primary concern currently, is that outlet being submerged like that.
So I guess my follow-up questions then would be for DWR, as what was the findings from the survey that was completed after we did the pipe inspection, and what thoughts or considerations are going into what will result from that?
Well, I think we should just back up for a second and rehash what was originally the proposal on your part. We understand there's some frustration with the delay in getting the permit out. We intend to get it out as soon as we can the next day or so. And the overall purpose of this permit was originally to simply repair the erosion on the back slope. But we were, it's a difficult situation for us because we've been trying to get this pipe outlet uncovered for years now, and we never get any movement on it. And I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying that it's a situation we can't walk away from. The dam itself is going on 90 years old. The drop inlet / drawdown has been leaking for years, and the outlet itself is completely covered. We have no way of knowing what's going on if that thing starts leaking or something. Who knows what could happen? All we want to do is uncover that flow line so that somebody down there can periodically monitor the situation, because I think that the county should realize that eventually, and I don't know, probably in the near future, that this thing is going to need some major repairs, and that's not going to be during this permit. That has nothing to do with this permit. We understand that, but the very least we want is to have that outlet uncovered, and hopefully we can do it through this permit. And I wanted Mr. Wolf involved from the Corps, because the original stream channel has already been altered, and of course the Corps permit does not, our permit is not contingent upon the Corps permit, but I wanted his evaluation of what would be needed in the future to go in and clean out that channel, because we did survey it, and it appears that there would be enough drop, just barely enough drop from the outlet of the flow line outlet, I mean, clear down to that first bridge on the roadway to actually keep that flow line clear. And that's basically all we want today, is be able to talk to you about that. And we basically wanted to tell you that that could be a condition of this permit. It wouldn't have to be done tomorrow, but we would like to get this thing cleaned out, put it in this permit, and move on down the road and see what happens from there.
This is Lee Wolf with the Corps. I can speak to that. As far as cleaning out your outlet and stilling basin, we can do that under a nationwide 3 permit. And the only thing we would ask is if you take that dredge material out, you load it up into a truck and haul it off site. Don't put it back onto the stream bank where the next time it rains, it washes back in and covers up your outlet pipe. So we could do a nationwide 3 permit where you could come in, dredge out your outlet pipe, uncover it, fix your valve, fix whatever you got to do with your pipe. Put it in a new stilling basin if you need to for the pipe, and remove the material. Now, if you're wanting to go downstream a little bit and the stream has been manipulated, straightened, we could do a nationwide 41 for that, where you could dredge out the rest of the stream and haul that dredge material out. You can dredge it back to its original contours or its original level. So whatever the elevation was when you first straightened the stream 50, 60, 70 years ago, you can dredge it back out to that again. You can slope back to stream banks and continue on. Now, if you were wanting to riprap, dredge that out and then riprap it, come back in a later time, we have a nationwide for that too. You know, if you wanted to riprap that stream a little bit down from the stilling basin. So for the Corps side, it's not too much of a big deal for us. We got permits for this and we do this a lot. So for us, we would just need a regular application on our Corps application. Get off our website, Kansas City District website, or you can call me, contact me, my office. We can send you one. Fill that out, get a location map, and just not a whole specter of engineering drawings, just one kind of drawing what you're going to do, and that's it. So it's pretty easy for us on my side of the house here to get what you guys want done. I don't know if you need anything else, if you want me to speak to anything else, but that's kind of the Corps' take on this, is you just submit a permit, we nationwide, you go ahead and you fix it, just remove the dirt off site somewhere. We don't want it coming back into your stream. Kind of defeats the purpose of fixing it in that sense. So, any questions for me, or?
I just want to reiterate that nationwide permit or the 404 or whatever it takes, that can be dealt with after we permit this erosion repair on the back slope. We can deal with your permit when the time comes, but we can put this in there as a condition of our permit. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, yes. You can apply for the 404 permit anytime you're ready. So if you want to do one big permit and put this as a condition that you'll have to do this, yes, you can do that at a later date. You don't have to do it all at once. If you're wanting to fix the outlet next year, then you can apply for the permit next year. You know, whatever your timeline is, whatever your contract schedule or whatever plays out, you know, you can kind of play it by ear there. Since this is a nationwide, you don't have to have a lot of lead time. You don't have to, you know, plan too far in advance for it. So you're correct. You can apply for this permit afterwards.
Great.
You know, it wouldn't be a problem.
All right, Lee, I think that's, your position's clear to us now. Curtis, is there anything on your part you want to add?
Brian, what do you think?
I've got a lot of questions about the actual stream channel itself. One being multiple landowners, so I would, the stream channel that is up until we get to where the auxiliary spillway intersects is owned by the county, but everything south of that is owned by Somerville property, Marjorie Somerville. So does that come into play in the permitting, and also, you know, getting permissions to go in there and to do alterations to a stream channel that the county doesn't have control of?
That would be on you guys to get landowners' permission to go in there and do that. The Corps would only permit it. We would only say this activity is legal or blessed or approved. Now, to get the landowner's approval, the county or the contractor or the Marion Lake Association would have to go ahead and talk to the landowners and get their approval for you guys to go in there and do this work. So that wouldn't be on the Corps. That would kind of be on you guys to get the approvals from the landowners, so that you guys can go in there and do the work on their private land. That wouldn't be the Corps. We can permit it, but that does not mean that the landowner can say, you know what, I don't want it. You know, don't come on my land. Okay, they have that right. It's their land. If they own the stream, they can say, no, I don't want you guys on there. I don't want you guys touching the stream, whatever. That's their right since they own it. So whatever we permit doesn't override their landowner right. All we're saying is that this activity is legal by the Corps of Engineers, by the 404 permitting, by the Clean Water Act. And so somebody would have to talk to that lady and ask her if it would be okay. And now would you need an agreement, a signed agreement, a verbal agreement? That'd be up to you guys, what you guys would do on that. Since I work for the government, we always like writing. But that's kind of where you would go, is you would approach the landowner, say, hey, we got this project coming up through Marion County, the state's involved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Would you mind if we came here and fixed this up and did this and this and this? And then if you had a right-of-way document or something to sign, say, yeah, we can come in and do it, then you'd be clear, then you just get the permit from us and you go ahead and do it. And so that's my take on it. So we're out, the Corps out, we just allow you to do the activity on that land, whether it's private, public, does not matter. We just allow you to do that activity on that land. Now, to get permission to do the activity would be up to you guys.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and really from our perspective, the permission it should probably be pretty easy to get from the Somervilles, because right now they have an illegal stream obstruction in there, and we can send a letter saying that stream obstruction is illegal at this point. And so they'd have to do corrective action on it anyway.
From the survey that was done, and this is Leonard, Ambrose and Jack, was it mainly just, do you think that the entire channel needs to be cleaned out, or was just a couple items like immediately downstream of the outlet pipe right at the stilling basin, and then further downstream where that illegal obstruction is that Terry just talked about?
Looks to me like at some point in time, there was a buildup purposely put in right around the outlet pipe. I don't know why. I can't imagine that it was ever built 5 foot below the stream bed. But at this point, it looks like there's been a lot of sedimentation. I don't know how far that goes downstream. It looks like maybe a few hundred feet downstream. It's not silted in as much. But then when you get to that obstruction down on the north side of the bridge, it's probably 2 or 3 feet of fill in there that's back in the water clear up to the toe of the dam.
Okay. Would it help if I share my screen with the air photo?
That's what I'm getting ready to do, Leonard.
Okay. All right.
So this graph is our survey points in the channel with the conduit flow line from the original survey that Brian and I did, and then coming right out of the basin there. This is about 100 feet downstream, and you can see we couldn't get to the stream bed along here because the water was backed up, and this is that first obstruction about 2,200 feet downstream or so, and there's a 3-foot drop there, and then the road culvert is right there, and you can see that it's about the same elevation as the outlet flow line of the pipe. And that obstruction looks like this out there. It's not exactly sure what it is or what caused it, but and then it backs water up almost all the way in that channel.
To try to answer your question, I would think that, I would hope that if we could remove this and clean out right at the flow line of the pipe for maybe 50 feet, I would think maybe that would solve the problem, but I don't know, because we couldn't get into the channel for most of the length of it from the outlet on down. We could get to the surface, but not to the actual channel bottom.
And here's that obstruction.
So it may be just as easy as little as just removing that obstruction, cleaning some material out immediately downstream, about 50 feet downstream of the outlet works of the outlet pipe, and that may take care of the flow line issue. We just don't know exactly what's in between those two because it couldn't be surveyed with all the backwater and that at that time.
Yes.
This is Curtis. I've got a question. It looks like it's full of trees. Will that be a issue for you, Lee?
No, that wouldn't be an issue. You can cut them down, remove the stumps. You can do whatever you want with the trees. That wouldn't be an issue for us.
We're not suggesting we remove all the trees. All we're trying to do is lower the water level. And I don't think that it's going to take the dredging of the entire length of the stream channel.
Right. I mean, if you had to take a tree or two out to get your equipment down there to do what you had to do, that would be no problem. So, if you gotta remove 2 trees, you can remove them. But like I said, you can't leave the trees in the pond. You can't leave them in the stream. You just gotta remove them, burn them, haul them off, whatever. So.
Does anybody have any idea how deep that water is? I mean, would it be accessible with chest waders or not?
I think it probably would be. I don't want to do it, but it probably would be.
This time. Wouldn't want to do it this time.
From what their survey showed, it was about, you said about 3 feet. It was the drop on the downstream side from the water level at the upstream side to the downstream side, water level again?
Yeah, that was both water services, just on the upstream edge, and the downstream edge of that obstruction was right at almost 3 feet.
And then the water level on the downstream side was basically due to the bridge at the road. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were able to get a shot on the stream bed approximately 50 feet upstream of the bridge, of the culvert, and that stream bed there was 1291.29, and our flow line of the conduit is 1291.3.
So, Ambrose, could you describe how this would be a condition of the permit, but yet not part of the modification, or not needing to be done right away? What's the logistics of that?
But as usual, our permits would be anywhere from 18 months to 2 years, and they can be extended. But all we would do was, in the permit condition, we would just say that the outlet pool will be cleaned out to the elevation of the flow line, and any areas in the stream channel down to the roadway will be cleaned in order to remove the water from over the top of the pipe. And, you know, the only repercussions you would have for not doing that is you would not get a certificate of completion. You would basically be, not you, but the county, the owners would be in violation of the statutes. Now, we're not gonna come in and breach the dam because of that. We wanna get this resolved, and we wanna be able to see that pipe. This is all about safety. This isn't about a power plant or anything else. We just want to be able to clean that out. And like I said, eventually the county is going to be responsible for doing something with this dam. It is old, and it has nothing to do with the permit that we're issuing for this erosion that you guys got involved in. But we just can't walk away from this. We can't issue this permit while we've got this safety condition downstream, and we've been trying to get this resolved for years. It's not that big a deal. All we got to do is make it a condition of the permit, sign the permit, you do your erosion control repairs, and if the county wants to balk at this, it's on them. It's not on us.
For that permit application, if a stream, if there was stream restoration done, would there have to be separate applications from both Marion County to DWR, Marion County and the Somervilles, or could it all just be one?
Well, we didn't really talk about that, Brian, but I think the way we've talked about this, that permit wouldn't need to go through a stream obstruction channel change permit, because we're basically covering that work with this permit by saying it's a condition of this permit that gets cleaned out so it drains. So I guess I wouldn't foresee really another permit coming for that. I think it'd be rolled up into this one. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thanks, Jerry. I guess I'd be interested if the county commission had any questions or concerns.
Yes. I have a question. Kent Becker, Commissioner. What type of funding would be available from the state or the federal level to undertake some type of operation like this?
This is Lee with the Corps. I know the Corps doesn't have any funding, unless there's other programs through the state or through FEMA or something. As far as regulatory Corps of Engineers, which I'm a part of, we don't have any funding for that. I don't think planning which is another division of our Corps. They could, but they usually are moving streams and straightening streams around towns. And kind of like Salina, they did that in Wichita. So I don't know if this would qualify, and so I would say from the Corps side, there would be no funding.
And DWR doesn't have any funding either. There might be a possibility of some conservation money available. They typically don't get involved with channel cleaning, but I mean, it would be worth a shot to talk to the conservation district there in Marion.
Would this be eligible for a Silver Jackets project request?
I don't know. The Silver Jacket projects for this year are due like in a couple of weeks. I typically, I don't think that they would go with something like this because usually they try to reduce flooding, but you never know. I guess you bring it up to the hazard mitigation team and see if it would be a project they'd want to pursue next year.
This is Commissioner Dalkey. My question to you, can you hear me?
Yes.
My question to you is, it's my understanding that the basin down there was built as this design of the project back whenever. If we remove that and open that up with the force that, and I think the reason why the basin was built like that was because to slow the action down coming out of the tube. But if we remove that, as we found out on other bridge projects and things like that, when you have a tube and let her shoot out there, it causes erosion as high as 100 to 300 feet out away from it. And we all know what the kind of force comes out of this tube. I'm just wondering if it probably would do what you're wanting to do, but is it going to create us another problem in the future to take care of the erosion that's going to cause?
Well, the original plan showed that the channel was to be cleared out to allow access to that, to allow flow access from that pipe. And that's the 1937 plan show that. As I said, I don't know how or why it was built the way it is, but I seriously doubt that anyone designed for that pipe to be 4 to 5 feet below the flow line of the channel.
Well, they'd still have the plunge pool anyway, correct?
What's that?
They'd still have the plunge pool anyway, even if they cleared to the flow line of the tube, right?
I don't understand what you're saying.
They could still dig a plunge pool there to accommodate that for energy dissipation as they clean out the rest of the channel downstream. There could still be a depth of plunge pool right there below that pipe that would be below the stream channel level to allow energy dissipation.
Yeah.
So that could be a part of the design.
Is this is Jonah Gehring, County Commissioner. Is the Stillen Basin a rock built? So it has a historical value. Does that cause us any grief, removing that or altering that in a historical society?
I don't know that it has any historical value at all. That's the first I've heard of that.
Yeah, this is Lee with the Corps of Engineers. As far as the Corps looks at it, just if it's 50 years old, it qualifies to be put on the state historical list. But just because something's 50 years old doesn't necessarily mean there's any value or need to be saved. And so if it's damaged or not up to par, you can replace those 50 or older objects. And so we do that all the time with bridges in the state. And so with the stilling basin, I wouldn't worry about it being over 50 years. I know we want it as far as the core. If I was permitting this, I would have no problem repairing it and fixing it or removing it or whatever. So I wouldn't think it would be a problem in this case.
I know the elevation of that thing is just confusing altogether as to why it's lower than the channel and that much lower. One thought that I've always had with it is, you know, the original design that never was intended to be used as a principal spillway to begin with. I mean, it was just a drawdown, and everything was supposed to go around on the auxiliary spillway. And with the windows cut into the tower now, it is being used as a principal spillway. So part of me wonders if that was just there and they just never expected it to ever have this problem in the future, you know, and there could have been negative grade in that channel downstream from the very beginning.
That makes sense.
Ambrose, did you say that the original plans, I don't remember, it's been quite a while since I've looked at those, but when they originally constructed this, wasn't that cleaned out immediately downstream from that outlet works?
That's what the plan said it was supposed to have been done, but I don't know if that was actually done. It seems really strange that there's actually some kind of a berm built up there. It doesn't look like that's a sedimentation berm. It looks like it's actually been placed there because there's probably at least 4 feet of riprap and rock approximately 10 feet out from the outlet pipe. I don't know how it happened. I don't know. But from the original plans, it's not supposed to be that way.
The original plans actually showed maybe the flow line had a positive grade from that outlet works downstream. Is that correct, you think?
It's the third one. Is it right? Yeah. Sure. Or the last one on the right, a little behind it, Leonard.
Okay.
I believe it is. It might be the one above.
And did it show that on the plan view?
There's a plan view sheet. It's number 4 in the bottom right corner. It says 4. It's got the topog, and you can see where the box is drawn in there, and just right there, there's an arrow that says clean out the channel to drain the box.
I think that's what I was thinking of. I thought it was on this sheet, but it's not.
Here, I can share my screen real quick, Zach.
Go right ahead.
Sure.
I don't know if it's shared or not. Is it sharing?
Not yet.
Okay.
I screwed that up. I got something the wrong one there.
There it is.
So it's very small. Let me see if I can zoom into that portion of the drawing here. So here's the pipe that is in question, and this angular shape would be the box. It's not really built that way. It's pretty well straight, and that channel doesn't really curve like that either anymore. It's basically straight out of that across here. but that's this area here which to be cleaned out. And like Ambrose says, it's hard to say whether that ever happened or if there was other things done afterwards. Just not really any documentation that supports either of that.
So it appears that they may have cut a new channel from that outlet box, since that outlet box doesn't come out at the angle that it's shown here.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't come out at an angle like that, and there's definitely not this curve there anymore. It's more of a straight on shot. There's a fence line, property fence line that comes through here.
Yeah, that should be shown right there. There's a fence line shown.
Yeah. But Zach, would you say that curve's there, or Ambrose?
I don't think it, oh no,
No,
you're right, it's been
It's basically a straight shot from the pipe to this fence line.
Yeah, I agree.
How many feet in between there, that fence line?
Can we have some input from the county now to see what's their position here?
Well, I guess the first step, I think we all agree, is to get the erosion damage fixed. We've got to get that handled, and as promptly as we can. The next step is to figure out how to mitigate the issue with the pipe, and that I'm going to rely on Isaac and the experts, what direction they would recommend.
So as part of that permit, would there be kind of an open-ended timeline on that then?
You have to file for extensions every 2 years. If you don't get it done.
The core permits are 5 years in length, and then we can also extend those.
State permits are 2 years, I think.
They would not.
Let's ask about, if the landowner says, no, leave it alone. And you said that you would issue a letter then that they had to remove, or who has to remove it? Somebody has to remove that dam that's withholding water back. So then that's removed. And the landowner tells us, you can't dredge anything then. Is the project just still in the water then, or stopped?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like I say, the chief engineer can issue an order that stream obstruction be removed, but we can't issue an order that says they gotta give you permission to do anything on their property.
I mean, they're good people, the Somervilles are, and, we want to have a good working relationship with them. That would be something that would be the first thing to let them know why we would be coming to them and asking for this.
And Leonard and Terry, jump in here if I'm saying something that's not correct. And I want to kind of summarize what everybody's position is here. I want to reiterate that SEC basically somewhat didn't realize what they were getting into when they agreed to this contract to fix this erosion. And that's unfortunate. And at the same time, the county didn't realize the extent of what could possibly happen in the future. We're not here to try to strong arm anybody. We do have the legal authority to do a lot of things that we don't want to do. We do not intend in any way to tell you we're going to breach your data. We do have that authority if it comes to it. We do have the authority to say, hey, if you can't fix the stream channel, you're going to have to fix the pipe, which means a mountain of work, millions of dollars, probably civil actions. We're not going to do that. Is there any way we can get a verbal or a written agreement from the county that we can issue this permit for the erosion repair, get SEC down the road, which I'm sure what they want to do. I'm not saying that they just want to bail it, but they've been working on a long time on an issue they thought was simply erosion repair. Is that correct, Curtis?
That was our initial thought, was it's a simple erosion repair. Yeah.
I should have said Brian as well. But anyway, what we would like to do is get this erosion done, get the permit out, and if we can have a verbal agreement from the county that they're going to work on resolving this issue down the road, then that would cover us in terms of our obligation to public safety. That this pipe, we have told you that it's a bad situation, but the conditions now that we're dealing with don't allow it to immediately be fixed with this permit. Can that be something we can work on, Leonard?
Yeah, I think so. I think that in the best case scenario, it appears that maybe if that obstruction was removed downstream and then 50 or so feet, whatever it was, up just downstream of the outlet works was cleaned out, maybe that will resolve the entire issue with being able to monitor that outlet works pipe to see if it does have any further issues in the future. Now, if there's other obstructions or there's other items in that stream channel that we just don't see, that may be some other high points in there, maybe some other work would need to be cleaned out. But I think it's as simple as, to start with, is just to get that downstream obstruction removed and to clean that out immediately downstream of the pipe. Maybe install a plunge pool if that's necessary because of those flows. That may take care of the whole issue. Just to be able to monitor that outlet works to see how much it is leaking. Is there any increases? Is there any turbidity? Is there any other problems that continue to occur that is going to require future work?
But the question is, can we legally and justifiably, as per our obligation to the regulations, can we do that aside from this permit? Can we have the county assure us that will be attempted in the near future?
I think we'd have to have it in the permit.
Yeah, I think so too. Because currently, obviously, we've got the application in to repair the erosion, and we want to get that completed. We can get that done. This other item could be a separate issue, I think, just like what Terry said, in a separate permit, some other issues, just to let the county know what's coming ahead, that this doesn't take care of the entire problem. It's going to take care of the issue as far as the repair on the downstream slope, but it's not going to take care of the issue with the outlet works.
Okay, that's a separate issue. Then what I meant was, can we get this permit out for the erosion repair and then deal with the outlet pipe afterwards?
I think we can, Terry. That's not an issue, is it?
So, no, it's not an issue. We could do it that way, but that would require then, if we're not going to cover it under this permit, it would require another permit application and review to get it fixed at that point. And I think it would be easier just to roll it into this permit. But
Can we go back to the original thought of, you got the permit to allow to fix the erosion, and then in the conditions you say this downstream channel shall be cleaned. Time frame, we could get the permit out, we could do the work on the backside, and then we wait and to resolve how we get the other done. And the time frame would be how long of a time, I guess. The permit is allowed to get done in, what, 2 years, and then you can ask for an extension?
We can extend it up to 5 years.
So in reality, we could fix the erosion backslope this spring, this summer, and then work on the rest. to complete the entire permit.
Yes.
Next question I might have is Commissioner Dalkey. Okay, so we do this. We get the downstream going and that. Are any of you capable of telling us what might be involved if this tube standpipe needs to be replaced at some time? Who's gonna be able to pay for that at that time?
The owners of the dam would have to pay for that. That's the way it is with all dams and jurisdictional structures.
And this is how high it has a potential.
Significant.
Okay.
So you were saying this permit, Commissioner Becker, permit will be issued in the next couple of days?
Well, so due to the nature of this permit, it has to be signed by the chief engineer. Zach and Ambrose can have it ready in the next day or maybe two, but I don't know the schedule of the chief engineer and actually getting it signed, because I believe he's got some hearings out in western Kansas the first part of next week. So hopefully it can be signed at some point next week anyway.
Yeah, because time is going to be of the essence for us to get bids out. Or I guess we already have a bid. We have bids, but to get started on the work, because it's going to take some time.
Well, spring is coming.
Yeah.
And we need it fixed so it doesn't make it worse.
I believe. I think it's slow sequence. Would we need any, if we're rolling this into the plans, would we need any design sheets or anything on like a ceiling basin, or because that outlet's 2x2, so it's over the 1.7 square feet. So it would need a designed pool basin, wouldn't it?
Well, if we were gonna, depends on when we're gonna waive this in lieu of future repairs. If we're not, if we don't waive it, then, and if we don't make it a condition of permit, it's just part of the permit. Yeah, we do have to have it in the design. That's the whole reason for being here, was to decide whether we wanted to continue with that or how we could do it.
So just a question to add on to that conversation right there, because that's what's going through my mind too, Zach, is, all right, so if we make this a condition of the permit, there's been no design work really to support, you know, the downstream rehab. So would that be written in this condition attached to this permit, exactly what the county would have to do and what documentation would have to be supplied to support that rehab? Or does that have to be completed before the permit is issued?
Well, typically it would be required before the permit was issued, but in extreme cases like this, where we had no idea that this, we just assumed from the start that all we had to do was go clean that outlet out and everything would be fine. We didn't realize it was going to be affected by the whole length of the stream channel. So to answer your question, I'm not sure what we can do.
If we approve the repairs on the downstream slope, could we do it as revised plans under the same permit or the outlet works?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was going to say. Leonard, just to make it easier, just revise plans, issue the permit, get the work done, or get the erosion started, submit a couple of sheets on what you're going to do on that on the outlet works, and we'll call it a revised plan.
that would make it a lot simpler and cleaner and it just easier as far as instead of going through a whole new permit and that side of things.
Yeah.
We're still gonna have to have which is not anybody's concern but ours, but we're still gonna have a waiver for that outlet pool. Because we're never gonna be able to put a regulation outlet pool in there. It's just not gonna happen. We're never gonna get 1 foot of dropping below the flow line.
And I think that's something we could waive as far as that flow line and the elevation of the pipe, because it's existing, it's not new construction, and it's just not going to be feasible to get that done. But as far as a plunge pool to take care of any erosion concerned, I think that's something that we could have constructed in. We just wouldn't have that 1 foot of elevation difference from the outlet of the pipe to the 100 or the 1% chance storm event flow line.
That's easy enough.
And then I know the commissioners had some concern about any erosion that would occur if that plunge pool wasn't there. At least that would still leave us some energy dissipation to take care of any erosion concerns.
Well, maybe, I guess what I'd recommend, from where our standpoint, the commissioners might take some time to visit about it today, and then I can touch base with them and kind of answer any questions that they might have on as a follow-up. And if there's other questions that need to go to DWR, I can help filter those up to Terry and Ambrose and Zach. Kind of get a decision to move forward.
Yeah, and like Ambrose said, we're not here to strong arm anybody. As part of the county's discussion, talk about some timing issues. You know, do they want to approach the Somervilles saying we have this issue, or would they rather us just initially send a letter on that obstruction? So I understand that you have to have a good working relationship with all the neighbors and landowners. So talk about that type of timing issue as well.
All right, I guess that's the direction we'll take. We'll visit with Brian and Curtis, get a little more information. I think that the position of the commission is we want to get that erosion issue resolved as quickly as possible. The secondary issue, yes, we want to explore it, but at this point, we're not going to commit to a multi-million-dollar project without knowing what we're getting into. So we can't make that a part of that condition. We definitely want to explore it. We want to investigate it. We want to do whatever we can to mitigate the issue. But you can't get us to commit to the unknown until we see what's there. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, but we do need to, I mean, if the permit was just contingent that we would survey it, or we would, you know, look into it and see how deep we'd have to get into this, I could get behind that. And then that completes our permit. But as far as having to do this or our permit isn't complete, that's tough.
Yeah, that's an unknown.
That's an unknown.
And
I definitely want to explore that unknown.
Sure.
just to clear things up, I know when Ambrose said that this could be some very expensive repairs, I believe what he was alluding to is should the main outlet works need to be replaced, I don't think he ever meant for that to come across as this channel work to be anything as far as elaborate as that. It's mainly if there's further issues that occur with that outlet works in the pipe and in the drawdown tower and the outlet works tower, that's when it's going to probably get very detailed and pricey to repair or modify or replace any of that structure.
All right.
Currently, that's not what we're looking at. We're mainly wanting to make sure that we can monitor, the county can monitor, anybody else can monitor the situation of what is actually physically taking place out there with the outlet works.
And I think we've got full agreement on that. Yeah, we have full agreement to that point.
Okay.
Terry, this is Curtis again. Do you ever, could you show the commission a draft modification permit, what it would look like, and see if they would, before you actually issue it? Is that something you've ever done, or just so they could read the wording of the condition and what that really means? Give them a little confidence, or?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can share the wording with you. Yeah. Make Zach write a note on that for sure.
Because essentially the way I read it right now is the permit we wouldn't need any more engineering drawings or anything at this point in time. We would be able to do the back slope repair. The condition is just is verbiage that says this channel will need to be cleaned out type thing. And I guess that's the part that how that would be worded would be of interest, I believe.
Yeah, we can share that.
That's pretty open-ended. The channel needs to be cleaned. Well, who's going to make that determination on how well it's cleaned, or how much deep we got to go, or how many 50 trees we got to remove? It's just that just seems a little.
Remediation might be a better word than cleaning out the channel.
Remediation.
We were having a tough time hearing that. If that was a question for DWR, could you please restate that?
Yeah, I was just saying that when you put verbiage in there on a permit like that, I mean, it leaves it pretty open-ended. I mean, as far as cleaning the channel out without having a drawing already dictating what's going to take place. That being open-ended is more of a scare to me than anything.
I still didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
Just can't put the microphone.
The parts that I heard, it seemed like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the question was more the open-endedness of that type of a agreement would make them concerned as to making sure that they met the obligations in the future. I mean, if there wasn't really a requirement that's in the permit, but just that they're gonna do something.
I don't know that it would be that open-ended. I think the condition would be that the channel would be cleared to the flow line of the pipe. The open-endedness of it is, how do you get to that point?
Brian, you hit the question right on the head. That's our concern, is that open-endedness. Would you or Curtis have any recommendation on how that could be worded to say it's more of an investigation. We're committed to investigating the problem and finding solutions, but I'm struggling for the wording on how to handle that.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, that would be a decision for DWR, but from what I've heard from both sides, it seems like to me that it wouldn't be, as like Terry was just saying, it wouldn't be like open-ended as an investigation. There'd be enough detail in this that would tie a certain type of project scope to the repair. I mean, just a survey to see if what would need to be done would most likely not meet the conditions. Correct, Terry? It would be, there would have to be some type of changes done that would meet criteria spelled out in the condition.
Yeah, correct.
So it would be more than an investigation. It would be an investigation with a solution.
Well, I guess where we're at is I think looking around the room, we're committed to the downstream obstruction, the sediment by the pipe. But past that point, I think that's where we cross the threshold into a higher level of repairs than the unknown.
I think we're all in agreement there. Like, that's what this meeting was primarily about, was the uncovering of that outlet pipe so that you can monitor the seepage or the leakage that's in that tower in that gate, so that we can monitor that, or that you can monitor that and being the owners, so that if an issue would arise in the future, whether that leak gets worse on that gate or that gate begins to fail in that valve, that can be addressed at that time. That's not something we're saying is any part of what we're doing right now. That's to be determined in the future. We just need to be able to monitor that, to be able to tell what's happening. And the way it is right now with that pipe being submerged about 5 feet, we can't tell. We can't monitor the changes.
Okay, if that could be that condition, then I think that's where we would be. I mean, we'd be comfortable with that condition of exposing it and being able to monitor it. If there's something that needs to be done after that point, then we move to the next step.
Well, and I think we ought to realize that this is just simply, we're all caught between a rock and a hard place here, because you have no more obligation through this permit than you had before that. We could have at any point, and we did in the past recommend that you get that outlet pipe cleaned out, that outlet area, so that we could see the flow line. We could have at any time, if our intent was just to make you do something, the regulations of, our jurisdiction could easily have been, you do it. We wouldn't even have to tell you how to do it or what to do. It's just, get it fixed. That's not our intention at all, but I'm trying to tell you that this permit doesn't make your obligation any more than it already is. You own the thing, and it's the safety of the public, the safety of this structure is your responsibility. And don't take this wrong. I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody. I'm just saying whatever we do with this permit is not going to make you any more open-ended obligation than what you have. It's your dam, and we're not jumping down your throat and saying you have to get a new pipe or anything immediately, but it is 90 years old, and one of these days you're going to have to put some money into it, and we don't have answers for that. We don't. Now, we're trying to do everything we can and be fair about it, but I don't see any reason why this permit would have any more of a repercussion to you than than you already have. Am I wrong, Leonard?
No, I think, obviously, this is just a start to monitor it, and in the future, there may be some work that's necessary and maybe not. It's just, we can't really monitor the situation, and with that being submerged, we just can't tell what's occurring. We know that there's leakage. We know that there's some issues with the outlet works tower, but we just don't know how severe that is, and without being able to monitor it, we aren't going to have any place to move forward from.
Isaac, did you have some comments?
Yeah, well, I guess my concern, or not really concern, I don't think anybody here, and I don't want to speak for the county on this, I don't think anybody if this outlet flow, if you guys are concerned or think it's dangerous, I don't think anybody's trying to ignore that fact. I think the main concern is this dam had erosion 2 years ago, and within a week we got started to try to get this thing fixed. And now we're sitting here 2 years later almost, and we're in the same place we were, except now we have more problems. And I can't speak for anybody but myself, but this is the first time I've talked to superintendents of the lake back to the 60s, and this was the first time I had ever heard of anybody mentioning the fact that that outlet flow should be above that water level. Not to say that it hasn't, but we had no, I mean, I personally had no idea. And I think the main concern is just really if we could get started on fixing the problem that we already have. That's kind of where I'm at on it, is every time it rains, every time we have any kind of serious water, that problem that we have is just getting worse. And I feel like instead of getting closer to fixing it, all we're doing is adding on more problems that need to get fixed before we can actually fix the problem that we already have.
And that's understandable, but it's not, this isn't a new problem. We didn't just create this. This situation's been there for years, and we have told you about it.
It's been mentioned in every safety inspection that's been conducted on that structure, I believe, since that 1980 NDIP report came out, that outlet has been submerged and needs to be uncovered. It's been mentioned as varying degrees of severity as far as urgency to correct, but it is something that is against our regulations and needs to be corrected. It was mentioned in the report that SEC submitted, I believe, as things to, or future work, or things to monitor. It's been mentioned in the report that Ambrose did back in 2008 or 9 as something that needs to be addressed immediately. It's been mentioned in many reports.
So I guess the $1 million question is, what is it going to take so we can move forward?
Well, I think my understanding is we're all in agreement that the county is willing to pursue cleaning out the downstream channel. We're willing to write a waiver, essentially, because we're not going to meet that height separation distance of the outfall of the 100-year storm from that pipe to get the water level below that, but we're willing to allow, basically, if you can get the channel cleaned out to the flow elevation of that pipe. And the county, my understanding is you're willing to pursue that.
Yes.
We're willing to be able to monitor that pipe, whatever. I mean, if there's a way to just put a scope in there, or whatever. I agree with you that we gotta stay on top of that, but we also need to get this erosion fixed.
Yeah.
SEC, Brian and I could give you a real fairly decent estimate of what it would take to take cost-wise, take the plug out downstream in the area 50 feet around the pipe, cost-wise, and assuming that would be we don't know what's in between those because of the water, and maybe we don't need to know that yet, but we could give you a real reasonable estimate of what it would cost to do that, just on the side, you might say, to help you ease your mind, I guess.
Yeah,
Perfect, that's precisely where we want to go, and we've been dancing around this for a little over an hour. Comes back to the same thing as Isaac clearly said. The whole focus here is to get this erosion problem fixed, and that's our greatest hazard at this point. We've got to get that fixed. We're willing to take those other steps to move forward on that next issue, but let's get this issue fixed.
The dam, the lake is a pretty big cornerstone to our county, so we're gonna do what we need to do to make sure we keep that. And that's my commitment, I guess, for sure.
Okay, well, I guess we've been going around and around. Let's meet with Curtis and Brian, and they can communicate back to Division of Water Resources.
Yep, I think that's a good plan. And I'll reach out to Isaac and let him know when we can schedule a meeting. We can just work together on that.
All right. Thank you all for your time.
Yes, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was.
Could they hear that?
It's not much louder than Brian.
Kind of like at the commission meeting, we had this voice come in behind us every now and then.
At least you could hear me.
Yeah.
See, they couldn't hear Jonah either. I mean, you
Yeah.
cannot hear what you're saying. Randy, you just had to.
I'm gonna have to put my lips on it.
Okay. So Isaac, tell me if I'm wrong, but I got the impression the guy up in the corner, the Leonard,
Yeah,
he seemed to be on our
lease. So I don't know, Leonard has never been involved on any conversation that I've ever had. So
but it sounded like he was agreeing.
Yeah, Zach, I met with Zach Rust, and I met with Ambrose. And
Who's the guy in the lower right-hand corner?
that was
He's the
that was
stumbling block.
Ambrose. Yeah, I
He's
think that
the
was
problem.
Ambrose. Yeah, and
He
so
wants the whole thing fixed before we.
well, and Brian, from my understanding, Brian got in when
Cross.
yeah, the last time that they had a conversation about this, and they kind of told him that he needed to
Okay.
calm it. It's just been, I mean, it's been one thing kind of
Okay,
after the other.
so what's our next step?
I'll get with Brian, and we will see, I guess, what they're gonna require us to do, or what they're gonna want included in the, 'cause it sounds like they're gonna have that in the same permit.
Right.
It's all gonna be in the same permit.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see exactly what we have to get done and included in that permit so we can move forward, but.
Right. But, again, I maybe spoke out of line, but I thought I heard that removing the obstruction downstream, if appropriate, with the Somervilles, and
Sharon said there's a certain type of agreement that is kind of a common one that we would utilize for that.
but remove the downstream obstruction, make some more access to the tube. That should not be a high cost.
That all depends on the landowner.
Well,
Well, we've got control for a certain amount of it, right?
Yeah, we would have, I think, from my understanding, removing of that material right there past the outflow tube would be.
No, I'm talking down farther.
Yeah, well,
I just said that's 50 foot from about the burp hole to
The fence.
Is
Because that,
all it is.
that
So-
fence crosses that stream channel right there, and so I think if,
That's the part that,
that permit can't be contingent on a private landowner.
and that's kind of the part that got me, is it seemed like they think maybe if you get rid of the obstruction downstream and you
Which is also
remove
a
the material,
private landowner.
then it might fix
But-
the problem.
and
But-
that's your first step. You've got to do it in phases.
That's first thing.
Yeah, but now,
But your concern is the same concern that I had, is if, and like they said, they're not sure, but I know that tower.
Now, I'm not talking about removing the box. I'm just talking about their sediment,
I
right?
thought the box blocked it, is what I thought, Dave.
Okay, so the
Stilling
box
basin.
has to go?
Stilling basin.
Yeah,
Well-
I thought the box blocks that so that it.
So it has to come up.
Oh, yeah, the energy dissipation.
Yeah, yeah.
But that doesn't block access to the tube, does it?
I believe the biggest problem was like they touched on in that meeting was when that tower was built, it wasn't meant to do what
Right,
it
it
does.
didn't have
Those
slots.
windows weren't supposed to
Right.
be there. And then that was put in, and now way more water constantly runs through that than was originally planned. But what happens, like to Randy's comment, is that water comes through and it blows out, then
Oh.
it hits that rock wall,
Right.
and then that's what sends it up.
Yes.
From my understanding, what they're wanting us to do is get rid of all that.
Yeah, that's
So
what they
when
said.
that
And I-
water blows through,
Then-
it's gonna come.
It sounds like after we do that then, after we do that, we remove that, then we can dig a hole deeper. And I thought,
No.
what's that good for?
No,
I
you're-
don't
Well, the
know.
water will
just
coming
cross.
out at that force will dig it deeper.
Yeah.
That's a greater
If
hazard than what's
you-
there now.
It just seems like it, yeah.
So, yeah, I'll talk with Brian. And I guess we can see where it's gonna go from there, but I know,
So
The main thing
they're
I think
basically
is-
not gonna do permit till we talk to Brian, get back to
that's what it sounds like. It sounds like they're gonna have to add a little bit to that permit before they can approve it, but.
Yeah.
Then we gotta go by the chief.
Yeah.
The chief's up here somewhere that's.
Yeah.
Got that title called engineer? I don't know about them fellers.
Come on, now. Come on now.
I can call, I'll call Brian as soon as I get out of here. I left my phone in the truck, but once I get out, I'll call him and I'll see, and then I'll let
There
you
you
know
go.
if that
Yeah,
works.
that's pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Let's put it on the agenda for Tuesday.
Okay. We can do that.
I would think an engineer would come up with that silting basin that allowed it to be built up, so that would technically be your elevation starting point. So that you could make water run uphill.
It does?
You can.
That's against some of my rules that I go against.
It can. It can if you use physics.
All right.
Yeah.
We got a plan. You'll talk to Brian.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on the agenda for Tuesday.
Okay.
I really appreciate you lining this all up, Isaac, finally. I really appreciate your comments. Like you said,
Yeah.
you've been working hard to get this thing fixed. And they keep holding us back, keep holding us back.
Yeah. It wasn't a question of cost, it wasn't a question of anything, it was instantly, you just got on it.
We wanna
And I
get
appreciate
fixed.
And I
that.
guess then to follow up on that is, they keep saying, well, this has been reported, and yet you
I
said you
didn't.
never once heard of it.
I didn't know.
And your predecessors hadn't heard of it. And Tina, have you heard of it?
Well, I mean, no.
I mean, they make it sound like they've been
Well-
sending us these
Well,
dire
I mean,
warnings.
Yeah, I don't know that it's ever been presented in that manner. I mean,
Yes.
a finding on a report and
Saying,
who knows how to
And
resolve
now
it.
they're saying that they will not allow anything until we address that.
yeah, and I think, and maybe that's where it's been missed, is like they said in those reports, it said, well, you guys it might be recommended down the line to look at this, and
Right.
that's all
No,
just kind of
we're not.
been set to the side. It's never been presented as this could be a serious
Right.
problem.
There's never been a letter sent, there's never been any
Right.
kind of official notification.
But today we were told 5 times that, well, we could breach your dam, but we don't want to do it.
I think too, that the people sitting here is I've been under the impression that thing was built that way. I mean, I
Yes.
just looked at it
Yes.
since 35 years ago, 36 years ago real hard. I mean, I fished it because I'm up there years ago, but never looked at it and has taken care of it. And I thought it was still built that way, and the burp hole was designed for it and all of that, but he says it's not in that the original.
Everything, I think everything is built the way it was originally planned. The one thing that changed it all was when the windows were
Yes.
put into the tower.
Yes.
And I think when those windows were put into the
That
tower,
changed.
that's when everything kind of changed from what the original plans were to what the plans are now. But, I mean, I know when we pumped out that stilling basin, it sure looked like it was built that way. I mean, it looked like
Sure, but it comes back to the point.
when it was built, it wasn't meant to
It was not
be
meant
used
as
the way that.
primary.
It is.
All right. Okay, the key takeaway from the meeting is that the county is committed to the safety of the dam. The key takeaway from this meeting is that the county is committed to the safety of the dam. So the key takeaway from this meeting is the county is committed to the safety of the dam.
So,
Keeping it down too.
is.
Go ahead.
do
Health,
you
safety, and
want to
welfare, it all comes down to that.
Something to the Somervilles?
Well.
And then someone should contact them before.
It'll have to be, yeah.
Well, and that's what I want.
But what, back up to where I was gonna say something a while ago, Dave, was that I appreciate when one of our, whether it be Bryce, whether it be Brian, Bryce Goble, whether it be any of our department heads come up against something that we need to be incorporated in, this process that we just went through here today, we appreciate, because
Yes.
if we don't want any one of them to have to take that and then try to report back to us
Yes.
without here. We heard it face to face today. And I think that's a very good policy for any of our department heads to have, elected or whatever, when we meet this kind of a situation.
Yeah.
So,
To the point of the landowner, before they get contacted by someone else, do you have a relationship with?
yeah, with him.
Could you immediately following this
Yep,
meeting,
today.
fill them in on what happened so they
Yeah.
don't get blindsided from
Right.
someone else? I
Right.
appreciate that. I think that's fair to our
Yes.
landowners.
Yeah, I mean.
Is that part of your district?
No, it's Dave's.
But
It used to be mine.
But I think you have.
Yeah,
probably
but
have-
maybe both of you ought to go talk to them.
Wouldn't hurt.
Right, but I still think a phone call immediately
Well,
would be first.
maybe an advance phone call.
Right. But if that's okay with Commissioner Crowfoot.
Yeah. I don't know if we had a meeting today and
Yeah.
they were mentioned and you're gonna be involved,
See where it
might be
goes.
involved in the future.
But just before they get blindsided.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
By some entity they don't know.
Right. Okay, anything else for today? Isaac, did you?
That was it for me.
I think that was enough.
I think that if Dave and I go, I'll probably take.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
so everybody's,
right,
we,
right.
he can correct if I say something wrong, or if you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
But I just went down
remember,
there.
you can correct me.
He's been down there in the hole and looked at it.
Isaac, whenever we do get that permit, Sharon Homestead actually needs a copy of it too.
Okay.
As floodplain manager.
Okay.
Okay, anything else related to the issue today? If not, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried 5-0. Next meeting is Tuesday, the 31st, starting at 9 o'clock.
Fresh day. Why are we meeting for Tuesday next?
It's the last day of the.
Oh, hey, babe.
Payday.
And